Alright, I'm getting ready to wet sand this hood. Like I said, I'm going to do a 15,000, or not 15,000, 1,500 wet sand with the DA, and then 3,000 and 5,000. Of course, the sharp corners and things like that I'm going to stay away from and do those by hand. So hopefully it goes pretty good, and get this thing wet sanded and ready to polish out tomorrow. So, alright, see you in a bit. Alright, this is about 2.5, 3 hours later, I guess. I ended up wet sanding it with 1000 grit after all, and a 3M block, which is this puppy right here, because I had a couple of areas that had some dust nibs in them, and I had to go a little bit more aggressive to get them out. So did that with the block, the entire hood. It was exhausting. And then did the entire hood with 1,500 in the DA, which is this over here. And had that backer pad on there. 1,500 Trizac. And then I go to the 3,000 Trizac. So, as you can tell, it's already got somewhat of a sheen to it, which is a good thing because it makes the polishing process that much easier. I don't see any kind of problems in it. Everything looks straight. I know I've got plenty of clear coat on there for polishing, and then for ultimately UV protection and whatnot. But I'm going to stop here for now because I've got to go to a rehearsal, and so tomorrow I'll pick back up on it when I get a chance, probably sometime in the afternoon. Finish up with 5,000, and then go to the polishing compounds, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, see you then. All right, back at it again. Getting ready to wet sand this with 5,000 Trizac now, using this DA. And then I'll be going to the 3 compounds put out by 3M, perfect it. So, all right, here we go. So what I've done here is I go the length of the panel after I spritz it with some water, and then I go across the panel again, so I'm sure to cover everything on it. So that's the process. All right, I'm gonna finish this up and then see what we have. Okay, I've got this section wet sand with 5,000, and what I'm doing now, I'm using these microfiber cloths because they're really soft, and I wipe it down and then have a look at it. Save these contours, these sharper areas here, do those by hand. So then I take a dry cloth, wipe that down so it's nice and dry and I can look at it. So all right, so what I'm looking for here is to make sure that there's an evenness in the sheen all the way across, and that I don't have any problems that I still need to address before I go to the polishing, because once I start polishing, if I had a dust nib or something like that that I didn't get out from earlier steps, then I have to go backwards, and it's very time consuming and wastes a lot of the polishing compound, which is not cheap. So far this is looking good. I don't think I see anything in there. There might be something right in this area. Probably can't see it. Thought I saw it a second ago. Yeah, there's an area right in there. It looks like I got maybe a little bit of a dust nib area that I still have to get out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that and then move on to the rest of the panel. So that's my process. I wet sand with 1000 grit with a block the whole panel. Make sure everything's nice and flat. Then I go to the DA with a 3000 grit Trizac, then 5000, and then I check over all the work to make sure it's good before I go on to polishing. So, all right, see you in a bit. Okay, here's what we're looking like. Got it all wet sanded with 5000 now. It's got a pretty even sheen all the way across. Just inspecting things, and so now we're ready to go on to the polishing process with the different compounds, level 1, 2, and 3. So I did find a couple of places where there had been some dust nibs down here. I don't know if you can see them. They're right along this area here, right in this area. And the problem is, I got the dust nibs out. The problem is they left an impression, and I would be afraid to try to sand them completely out for fear that I would burn through the clear and into the red and have a much bigger problem. So basically what's going to happen is I'll polish it out, and you may or may not be able to see those. Right now you can kind of see them in the right angle of light because the impression is still a little bit shinier than the rest of the panel, because, well, for obvious reasons, it hasn't been gotten to with the different grits of sandpaper. So I'm not going to worry about it. Again, I don't expect this truck is going to be perfect. Certainly not Concours level. So, but it should look pretty good. And I've done enough work already. So anyway, here we go. Polishing time. All right, here it is. That's the first phase of polishing. Things look pretty good. So moving on to the second phase. This was the first one. Second phase, I'm gonna use the black pad now. All right, see you again soon. All right, phase 2 is done. And man, I'm glad I don't do this stuff for a living. Hats off to the guys that do. It's a lot of work, man. Especially on something that's this large. This hood is huge. Obviously larger than any other single panel on the truck. So it's just taking an enormous amount of time, but it's got a nice sheen to it. Ready to move on to the last phase. So here we go. All right, it's finally done. And it took about 3 hours to polish it out. Probably spent 3 hours yesterday wet sanding, so a total of 6 hours to get this done. So looks pretty good. The main thing is that the body work is done well. This hood had a few dents in it, some of which was right along this crease that we had to try to fix and make straight again, and looks like it worked. All the lines are the lights reflecting, look like they're straight. The gloss level is nice on it. It'll be even glossier once I put a coat of nice coat of carnauba wax, but I'm not supposed to do that for at least a month, I think. So obviously I'm gonna wait on that. But so this puppy is ready to install on Saturday. glad to be done with it. The rest of the polishing are smaller pieces. The front fenders will have to be polished, the cowls, and the gravel panel. All of that's just small stuff. The bed, I'll probably just polish the rails and the portions that you see from the exterior of the truck. Depending on how it looks on the inside, I may or may not polish it unless I have a bunch of dust nibs or something like that. But in any case, this hood is not perfect, but I'm not going to tell you where the problems are. You'll have to come to a car show if I ever get there. And if you can point them out, great. But I'm pleased with the way it turned out, and excited to move on. All right, see you guys soon.